Welcome to Olympian Cares, giving you the best in water testing and analysis. Today we're looking at Property Club with the question, is New York City tap water safe to drink? And the answer is yes. New York City tap water is safe to drink, given New York City has some of the cleanest drinking water of any major city in the United States. But that still doesn't mean that it's completely safe in terms of unfiltered, certain chemicals, foreign substances. We've talked a lot about these. We've talked about PFAs, VOCs. We've talked about lead. We've talked about heavy metals. So there's still some substances to keep an eye out for. So here's a look at the quality of New York City's tap water and whether or not it's safe to drink. The question is that we start with, can you drink the tap water in New York City? And yes, you can drink the New York City tap water without having to worry about getting sick. That's actually some of the cleanest water you'll find in any city. That's unless you have allergies or dietary restrictions or some other issue from additives as well. But if you want to actually take extra precautions, you can always use a filtration system, or you can use a filter pitcher in your refrigerator, and that'll make your water free, pure, and it'll take out some of the bad substances. But here's the issue. It may not take out everything, and that's why it's always a good idea to have your water periodically tested so you know what your filter is removing and you know what's in the water. Now, if you don't want to do that, the other alternative is purchasing bottled water. And the water used in bottles in the store is regulated differently from tap water, so keep that in mind. Water bottles are regulated by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, whereas the EPA regulates the tap water. So different administrative agencies, but both have strict standards when it comes to that. But not to mention a good portion of bottled water comes from the same sources as tap water. So you're going to say, I don't necessarily want to use tap water, I'll use bottled water, but it's not that big of a difference or a jump. Maybe there's different mineral qualities or compositions, but in the end, the product is quite similar. So buying bottled water can really actually get expensive and create a lot of wasted plastic that may end up in a landfill, an ocean, and it's not necessarily good for the environment. So how does the water system work? It has the largest unfiltered water system in the country, and it ranks among the best public water systems in the United States. Now, keep in mind the Department of Environmental Protection performs somewhere between 500,000 and 600,000 health and quality tests on the drinking water in New York City to meet its rigorous standards, and also the watershed supply gives water to 5 boroughs as well: Westchester, Orange, Ulster, and Putnam counties, and the majority of New York's water comes from the Catskill, Delaware, and Croton watersheds. So the big thing to see here is the water from these facilities so clean, it doesn't need to be required to be filtered by the FDA. It doesn't mean it's entirely pure, though. Why? It can still encounter contaminants on the way from the filtration system, from where it's coming from to your house. So what is in New York City drinking water? It's treated with chemicals, and that may alter the composition. It can be treated with things like chlorine, fluoride, sodium hydroxide, and UV light. It also has tiny microscopic organisms called copepods, and these are microscopic shrimp that are not harmful to ingest, but they eat mosquitoes. And that's another thing to keep in mind. So aside from all of this, New York has some of the oldest buildings as well. That's an issue as well, because you have older pipes, and as those pipes deteriorate, they can leak heavy metals into the water supply. But even still, unwanted materials can seep in drinking water, especially in older buildings. So, coming down to it, if you live in New York City, is the water safe to drink? Was the bottom line. No public water system is without its faults, but New York City tap water is among the cleanest and most pure in the country. Now, of course, there's always actions you can take if you don't like the taste or texture of the water, but in general, you shouldn't experience any negative health consequences from consuming tap water. Now, that being said, it's always a good idea, even if the water is safe, and there are a lot of ways to filter it, there's a lot of treatment plans, to get your water periodically tested and analyzed, so you know that for sure, 100%, that it is safe and there's no problems with your water.